Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking a look at another 2023 NFL mock draft for the New York Giants. We are 17 days away from the NFL draft, and you're finishing your position rankings, making some slight tweaks to your big board. But right now, you have a good feel of how you evaluate these prospects. Now you're just talking about different draft scenarios, and we're getting into it for the New York Giants. Now, before we even get into it, I just do want to say thank you to the New York Giants fans. We've done 4 or 5 mock drafts for the Giants and just a ton of feedback that you guys have shown. Whether you like the draft, whether you don't like the draft, let me know in the comment sections how you guys are feeling. Because again, that's the beauty of this NFL draft season is talking prospects, talking position fits, and I can't thank you guys enough for the support. So again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll be back draft night recapping the New York Giants picks, so stay locked in for that as well. And without further ado, let's get into this mock draft. And I do want to talk a little bit about how this draft could play out for the Giants and talk about this wide receiver position that we haven't taken a wide receiver at 25 for the Giants in a little bit now. I do want to talk about why it would make sense for the New York Giants. So let's take a look at who's available at that wide receiver position. You have both Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison available. I think one of those two will be available. I don't know if both will be. And for the New York Giants, I think it makes a lot of sense to take a look at these wide receivers. One, it's definitely a position in need, right? That being said, this wide receiver class is not necessarily, it's definitely not as good as you've seen in years past. But getting a rookie wide receiver on a rookie deal with that fifth-year option in the first round makes a lot of sense for a lot of teams, and the Giants know all too well. The free agency market is absolutely insane for wide receivers. You saw the money Christian Kirk got. The New York Giants got burned with Kenny Galladay. It makes a lot of sense to get a playmaking wide receiver on a rookie deal. Now, let's talk about the two options that you'll probably have, right? Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. If not both, definitely one should be available at 25. Zay Flowers, I have as a higher ranked wide receiver than Jordan Addison. I like them both. I'm going to go with Jordan Addison, but I want to talk a little bit about both wide receivers and kind of how I see him. Zay Flowers athletically is a little different than Jordan Addison. He's got more juice. He's got way more speed. I mean, a 4.4 flat 40, like this dude flies, can work the field vertically. A lot of people say he can play on the outside. I don't know if he fully can. And you have a guy like Wayndell Robinson, who I think has a very similar skill set to Zay Flowers. Yes, I think Zay Flowers is a little bit more versatile, but if you guys were listening to me last year, I was banging the table for a guy like Wayndell Robinson out of Kentucky. Absolutely loved his game. Jordan Addison has taken a pretty significant dip in his draft stock because of the athletic testing. And there's a couple things that you worry about for Jordan Addison. One, he's not great at the catch point, right? He's 5'11", 173 pounds. You got to get some New York Pete's in him because the play strength is quite frankly not there. That being said, what people are just kind of, it's so easy to forget about the film once the combine and the pro day kind of come and you just talk about how they are as athletes. Let's talk a little bit about how Jordan Addison is as a football player. One of the more productive wide receivers you've seen in this class for the last 2 years, right? Bolitnikoff Award winner in 2021, transfers to USC, gets it done at USC too, even battling with injuries. You see the contested catch rate. It's not good because that's not necessarily his game. What people don't talk about enough with a guy like Jordan Addison is how good he is as a route runner, creating separation all 3 levels of the field. Right? That when you look at what wide receivers are working out in the NFL, who are the best wide receivers in the NFL? It's the route runners. It's the guys who get the position, who get leverage and can create separation. That is what Jordan Addison is. So athletically, not as gifted as a guy like Zay Flowers or as a guy like Quentin Johnson. Yes, he's a little bit smaller, kind of like that Devontae Smith-esque frame, but people can't touch him. People can't mirror him. He's really good at setting up cornerbacks and creating separation. And I feel like since the combine, all they want to talk about is how small he is and how slow he is. Guess what? He's a very good wide receiver. And if you go back into the film, you'll see that. I think he's a great fit for the New York Giants. Again, I wouldn't fight you if you wanted to take Zay Flowers either, but I do think Jordan Addison provides that premier wide receiver one route running ability. For a guy like Daniel Jones to have a guy who can create separation at all 3 levels, I think makes a lot of sense for the New York Giants. And you know Brian Daboll, he's going to want him. Pick 57. There's a lot of different. So I think you're looking at the interior offensive line because when you look at the biggest differences here, biggest position needs, I think that interior offensive line needs some serious help. And so I want to take a look at who's available at pick 57 on the interior offensive line. Joe Tippmann, Luke Weichler. I'm leaning Joe Tippmann because I think he can play guard and center, right? I think Luke Weichler's film is probably a little bit better than Joe Tippmann. Joe Tippmann had some holds, but he is a dominant player, right? He's 6'6", he's 313 pounds. He's a very good athlete. And when you're looking at how the New York Giants want to structure your offense, you want to be able to create some space and seams for a guy like Saquon Barkley to hit those explosive plays. Having an athletic center who can dominate not only at the first level, but at the second level, working up to linebackers, probably makes a lot of sense. Now, some other guys I really like, Steve Avila from TCU I like, John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota is another guy I like. Joe Tippmann, though, from Wisconsin, again, the versatility to play center and guard, I think makes a lot of sense for the New York Giants because, again, all three spots on the interior, I think you need some help on. And so Joe Tippmann's a guy who I think is a year one starter that can play all three positions on the inside. And at a big-time position of need, I think Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin would make a lot of sense at 57. John Michael Schmitz would be my pick if he's available, but Joe Tippmann is not that far behind John Michael Schmitz in terms of my interior offensive line rankings. 89, this is probably where you're targeting cornerback, and you could go a lot of different ways. And at this point, for one, this is another argument for why you're not necessarily reaching for a cornerback at pick 25, because I think there's some really good cornerbacks available. And so now it's a little bit of a choose your flavor kind of pick, right? Both these guys, Travius Hodges-Tomlinson and Jalen Jones, are two guys that I like a lot. Hodges-Tomlinson's film from TCU is much better, but what you see about him and what you worry about him, 5'8", 178 pounds, right? Can he play the outside cornerback position? You're not sure because, again, you're just a little bit more smaller, and dealing with some of those guys that you're going to see like A.J. Brown is going to be a tough ask for a guy who's 5'8", 178 pounds. That being said, he's an all-time competitor, and you see the film and you see the advanced stats on him. 42.5 passer rating when targeted, 5 picks in the last 2 years, a 34.8% completion percentage. That's on 81 targets. Like, he was battle-tested. Players or quarterbacks tried to pick on him, and it just did not work. And again, he played mostly boundary corner at TCU. And again, the film is good at the college football level. The question mark you have about him is, can he hold up with that size at the next level? Jalen Jones, he's a little bit of a different story. He's that bigger, longer cornerback, the big body dude, 6'2", 200 pounds. I think he's a lot less of a fluid athlete than Hodges-Tomlinson, but you're also getting a lot more size and that ability to sit back in zone coverage and make a play on the football. I'm going to go with Hodges-Tomlinson from TCU here because, one, the film, he hasn't really shown on the film that he can't handle bigger wide receivers because, again, this dude is an all-time competitor. And even if you don't necessarily love it, you can play him in that nickel spot. And that nickel position is becoming a more and more important need for NFL teams, right? You want to play with 3 cornerbacks. Hodges-Tomlinson, whether he can make it on the outside, I think he can certainly play that nickel position. I think that pick, the film is just too good to pass up on a guy like Hodges-Tomlinson at pick 89. So I think we're going to go Travius Hodges-Tomlinson from TCU, even though he's a little bit undersized. I still like his game is just so good. Pick 120. Yeah, so this is why I love doing the Giants, and we've done so many, because I get a chance to talk about some of the guys I don't necessarily, all those day 3 picks, some of my sleeper gems late round I get to talk about. Let's take a look at this roster. I don't think it's crazy to go running back at some point, and this is kind of the sweet spot for running backs. Bijan Robinson on the franchise. Are you going to bring him back after next year? You're not sure. And I hate to think about Saquon not being a Giant, but also just from a running back 2 spot, like I think you could use an upgrade at that running back spot. That being said, I think we're going to wait a little bit, taking a look at some of the other needs for the New York Giants. I wouldn't mind getting another interior offensive lineman. Are there any other good guards available? Because I wouldn't mind doubling up on that. I think you can kind of juice scratch. Andrew Voorhees, but he tore his ACL. He's not going to be ready. Emil Ekiyor or Antonio Mafi, 2 guys that I'd probably be targeting later. Take a look at this linebacker spot. I think you could use another body here. I know you got Bobby O. Ivan Pace Jr. is a guy we haven't talked about. New York Giants fans, you guys made such a phenomenal point in the sense that y'all like bigger linebackers. And I totally get that. And Ivan Pace, he's not that big, right? 5'10", he's a short guy, but he is thick. And he doesn't have that length. And you worry about him dealing with those tight ends on the seam routes and how he can cover. But he is so good inside the box. He takes on blocks extremely well, but he wins with quickness and he wins with recognition, right? And he is a phenomenal pass rusher. You go turn on the Senior Bowl reps of just trying to beat running backs in pass pro. He didn't lose a single rep. And so he's a guy that Cincinnati lined him up all over the field, right? He was primarily in the box, but lined up on the defensive line, blitzed off the edge. He's a dude that, for one, if he doesn't start right away, he's going to be a phenomenal special teamer. But he's a guy that, if you want to rush the passer, like Ivan Pace Jr. has some serious gas rushing the passer, and he's a guy that wins with recognition. And I get kind of like Nakobe Dean from last year going to Philly. Like, the film is just so good. He just doesn't have that prototypical linebacker build. But at some point, you got to trust the film. And I think at 128, from a guy who graded out as one of the best linebackers on film, I think Ivan Pace Jr. would make a lot of sense for the Giants here at 120. And again, a dude that can do so many different things for those New York Giants. 160, 172 coming up. Trying to think about some other. And this gets to the point where you're just really just taking you're just taking the best player available. You're probably accepting that you're not going to find many starters at this point. I'm going to go up and get one because we never get to talk about this guy, and I think he just makes way too much sense to pass on. McClendon Curtis, I think he's going to be such a good interior offensive lineman. He's a guy who I have a top 150 grade on. He's listed at tackle. The reason he's listed at tackle is he's just the best player for Chattanooga. He's 6'6", 324. He's going to play guard at the next level, and he is just so good, especially when he gets onto double teams and working up to second level. Like, he's a hammer in the run game. And again, we talked, one, you love the position versatility. He can play tackle. And so if you need him to play tackle in a pinch, I get it. But I don't know if he starts right away. He's going to be a guy that can play all four spots on that offensive line. I love the film, and I love just the raw power that he has. McClendon Curtis is one of kind of my draft gems when it gets to day 3. I think 160 makes a lot of sense for just another big body on that offensive line that can do a lot of different things for you. 172, Corey Trice probably won't be here, but if he is here, like, that's just another cornerback that you went with Trey Hodges-Tomlinson earlier, and you passed on Jalen Jones. Corey Trice is more of that lengthier guy. And when you talk about high upside, Corey Trice certainly has that. And I kind of like it. You're getting one more of like a nickel, smaller guy who's very sticky. And then Corey Trice, very long cornerback that can play in zone coverage, make plays, and play on that boundary. I think Corey Trice and Trey Hodges-Tomlinson make a lot of sense as a cornerback rookie class. You get 2 of them. You have a lot of picks to make that happen. Corey Trice, a ton of upside too, could be kind of an all-pro caliber player if he does hit at the next level. 209, oh man, Marte Mapu from Sacramento State has been really getting a lot of buzz. I'm going to take a look at this tight end class. And I know you got Darren Waller. You feel good about that. Do we have Cameron Latu is also really good though. Cameron Latu, it's probably a little early for him, though. Like with Darren Waller, you're probably not taking him. Again, at round 6, you're probably just taking best player available. Jordan McFadden makes a lot of sense. Troy Brown. Any edge rushers we like here? Oh, I wouldn't mind getting Javarius Owens from Houston as just another body in the secondary. And I don't think you really need a immediate starting second safety, but he's a guy that's going to play special teams. He turns the ball over. Dante Demas Jr. Ooh. No, we're going to flip it up. We're going to go Dante Demas Jr. This is a guy that we've talked about, and I haven't gotten a chance to talk about him much because he's a guy that you just forgot how good he was, right? Before he had a gruesome injury in 2021. Before that, he was putting up some phenomenal numbers and then just really struggled to come back from that injury last year. Did not play that many snaps. I don't think he was fully healthy, but he's 6'4". He has 34-inch arms, jumps 36 inches. He's a guy that just a big body dude, and you got a guy like Jordan Addison who's a little bit smaller. Dante Demas Jr., again, when you're looking for high upside guys in day 3, I think Dante Demas Jr. is certainly one of those guys that you'd be taking a look at 209. Very similar to my guy, Bryce Ford Wheaton. Just a high upside dude that just take a swing on him, and he might hit and be a very good wide receiver at the next level. I think I want to take running back here. I think I want to get another running back just in the room. Taking a look at what is the running back room after Saquon looking like here? Yeah, Jay Sean Corbin. I liked him out of Florida State. Tavion Thomas, Travis Dye. We probably missed, we probably, now that I'm thinking about it, we probably did miss like that sweet spot for the running backs here. So probably pass on running backs, maybe get a UDFA one. Quindell Johnson would make a lot of sense. Troy Brown, he's a riser from Ole Miss. Transfers from Central Michigan, was really, really good at Central Michigan. I like his game. Brett Nealon's a good player too. Brett Nealon's a really good player. I want to go get a tight end. Let's go get a late round tight end. And again, maybe like a blocking tight end. Daniel Barker from Michigan State. And again, when you have a chance to get such a good blocking tight end late, Darren Waller, obviously not really that guy. Daniel Bellinger, not really that guy. When you have a chance to get a really good blocking tight end, I think that would make a little bit of sense. Daniel Barker would be a guy that you would feel good about it. At some point, you got to take Martu Mapu, maybe. Quindell Johnson. Let's take a look at this edge. You can never have enough pass rushers, and this is where you get a chance to take some like really good athletes. Iko Leota is a guy that I like. Daryl Nichami, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name, from Maryland. He's a guy that's very, very athletic. I think that would make a lot of sense. And again, day 3, just taking some guys that have some high upside. And then we're going to get Marto Mapu, who again went to the Senior Bowl and just like took it by storm. And he's a little bit of an undersized guy. I think he plays linebacker, like 6'3", 216. I think you put some weight on him, he plays that linebacker role. But when it comes to getting a lot of speed and coverage ability on the field while also stopping the run, Mapu's a guy that I think would provide some value for any NFL team that drafts him on the defensive side of the ball. Taking a look at how PFF grades us out here for the New York Giants. Again, ton of day 3 picks. Talking about some gems that you like. Ooh, we got a good grade from PFF today. Jordan Addison, A-. Again, don't quit on Jordan Addison because he didn't test out like a hyper athlete. He's still a really good wide receiver. Joe Tittman on that interior, I think, would make a lot of sense. Hodges Tomlinson. I really like how you're able to get Corey Trice and Hodges Tomlinson. A little bit of both, 2 different flavors, right? Hodges Tomlinson, very sticky but undersized. Corey Trice, really long and can make plays on the football. Ivan Pace Jr. can do it all. Wherever he goes, I'm really interested to see how they use him because, again, 5'10", not necessarily the height you're looking for in a linebacker, but the film is just so good. McClendon Curtis, they're sleeping on my guy. Dante Demas Jr. and Justin Shorter. Take a look at those guys late in that wide receiver class. And again, getting you guys out here early, but appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Let me know in the comment section how you think this mock draft went for the New York Giants. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to y'all later.